everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're just going to get straight into it. Today I'm going to do the book snack tag. This is an original tag by Rosica over at the Midnight Reader, so I will tag her, link her somehow down below in the description. And this is a food inspired book tag, because guys, is that not just the best thing ever? Like, two of my favorite things in life are food and books, so this is just perfect. And it is making me a little bit hungry, but you know, everything makes me hungry, so it's fine. So, shall we just get straight into it? Right. The first prompt, it is sweet. The chocolate chip cookie of books. Pick a book that is warm-hearted, uplifting, and makes you less cynical about the world. I thought I'd do okay on this prompt. I was like, I've read loads of like cute, fluffy, light-hearted things lately. And other than a couple of answers that I've already seen given, a couple of times, at least once or twice now, I was like, I can't really, like, I've read light-hearted, cute things, but nothing that's like super warm-hearted and like just wholesome. That this tag just makes me think of something super wholesome. And then I had a flash. As I was putting all my books on the shelves, one of my hardbacks. It's called The Christmas Saurus by Tom Fletcher. And it is a beautiful, beautiful book that is basically about the last dinosaur of his kind, and sort of like going on an adventure with this little boy who's in a wheelchair, and it's absolutely brilliant. There is a scene where the elves have been out in the North Pole doing something, and they come across this thing. They're like, they don't even know what it is, and they take it back, and it's like, oh my god, it's an egg. It's some kind of egg. We don't know what kind of egg it is. And this essentially leads to a scene where you've got Santa in the airing closet, in his long johns, sitting on this egg because his is the only bottom big enough. And yeah, guys, I cannot. It is just so full of like Christmas warmth and cheer, and it's just absolutely lovely. I read it pretty much every Christmas now. It is such a cute little read. Okay, the next prompt, we've got salty. Inherently craveable. Pick a book or series that you couldn't stop reading or reaching for. Now, anyone who's anyone who's watched any of my wrap-ups recently or any of my videos, it'll come as absolutely no surprise that I am absolutely obsessed right now with the Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. I have the next two books on pre-order. I have the manhwa on pre-order. I've watched all of The Untamed, which is the live-action adaptation. I have watched a fair amount of the anime, which you can find on YouTube. I've watched the entire, I've read the entire manhwa. I'm absolutely obsessed with this. I will take this in absolutely any form, and guys, I'm obsessed, and that's all there is. Yeah. Right. The next prompt, cheesy. Like Cheeto dust, you can't escape the cheese. Pick a book that you love because of or in spite of its cheesiness. Now, I wanted my answers to be answers that no one else has given yet. I couldn't do it for this one. This one, my brain just kept going back to Ali Hazelwood's Love on the Brain, which I think even Rosica herself possibly used this answer. I'm not trying to copy, but it was just so cheesy at times. Between that and The Love Hypothesis, also by Hazelwood, they are books where every time I think about it, I'm like, I can criticise this, I'm criticising this, I'm criticising that. It's tropey as hell, but it was such a good read and I enjoyed them so much that, yeah, it's just, that has to be the answer for that one, right? Next up, we have Deep Fried. You bit too soon into the batter and got burned. Pick a book that hurt to read. I don't know why, but for this prompt, my brain just goes to, this book betrayed me. And this book just really annoyed me. So I've kind of taken hurt and turned it into annoyed and angered. So for that one, I've chosen This Vicious Grace. I can't remember the author off the top of my head. This was a fairy loot book, and generally I got on really well with my fairy loot books. I love a bit of fantasy romance, so yeah, I went into this really expecting to at the very least enjoy it. I also read it right before I went to Italy, and this is an Italian-inspired fantasy romance. I'm not going to say too much, but the world building, the character work, and just, yeah. I don't actually understand why I didn't DNF this book. I should have. I got to a point where I was within about 10 pages. I've got my notebook out. Can't speak. And I'm scribbling furiously comments because I can't annotate books. I wish I could bring myself to do that, but I can't. So I had my notebook out and I'm scribbling comments with like page numbers, being like, "Arr!" And sending shot photos of them to a couple of friends, and they're like, "Why are you reading this?" Because yeah, I probably enjoyed how much I hated this book at one point, but yeah, I don't recommend it. I'm sorry, guys. I don't often unrecommend books, but this is a non-recommendation. Right, anyway. Next prompt. Ice cold. Sometimes the snack you want can only come from the deep freezer. Pick a book that transports you to a cold place. I scoured my bookshelves. As you can see, I have recently put the books on the shelves. So I've had a good chance to look at the books and go through them literally individually. And none of them screamed like cold setting. I've got a couple on my TBR that are pretty cold, on my TBR shelf that are cold setting, but I don't want to discuss a book that I've not read yet. And I apologise if you can hear the cat screaming in the background. She's having a moment. But yeah, anyway, I don't want to talk about a book that I've not read yet. And although I've got a lot of like European inspired fantasy, none of them are inherently cold feeling. So what I went with is I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. Because it's not so much cold, but it was... This was one of the first, but I read this years and years and years ago, like when I was still in, like, I think I was in like my late teens the first time I read this, and I've read it a few times since. But it was one of the first books where it had descriptions of the characters being cold and having to bundle up, and because they're a family that has been reduced to poverty, and they have to be really, really, really economical about like how they heat themselves, and yeah, it was one of the first books I remember reading that was like, that sort of like really got across to me how cold a person can get. So that's my answer for that prompt. Next, the next prompt, which is the sixth one, is sour. Some things are too sour to keep a straight face. Pick a book that had you making faces while you were reading. Okay. I make faces with every book I read. I'm a strangely emotional person when I'm reading. If I'm reading in public, you know what kind of scene I'm reading because of my face, right? You know, I mean, I'm not really going to read a smutty steamy book in public because my face will tell you what I'm reading. But if I'm in a really sad scene, I'm going to be tearing up, and I've had people ask me, like, are you okay? And I'm like, it's just a really sad scene, I can't. You know, if I'm having a really happy, enjoyable time, my face is going to show it. So this could literally be any book. So what did I go with? I went with Assassin's Fate by Robin Hobb. This is the concluding book in the Fitz and Fool trilogy, which is the concluding, at the moment at least, concluding trilogy in the overarching realm of the Elderlings. This book in particular, I felt every emotion. I had tears streaming down my face at one point. I was laughing away at one point. I was making proper fangirl squeeze because she gave me a very specific scene that I had longed for, that I never thought in my wildest fangirl dreams that I was ever going to actually get. I was like, that is like, it would be so cool if we could see this scene, but now it's never gonna happen. She made it happen. And I was so happy and excited. And honestly, like, there were proper fangirl squeeze, like, I can't believe you did this. But yeah, it made me feel all of the emotions, the entire range. I had to take the day off work when I bought this because I knew it was not going to be a cam read. And yeah, I'm glad I did, because by the time I got to the end, not only because I knew I was coming to the end, like it had the most satisfying end, the most appropriate end. It's not. I don't want to give spoilers away, so I'm just gonna stop myself there. But yeah, many faces were made during the reading of Assassin's Fate. Right, the next one. This is the healthy snack. You pick this up because it was good for you. Pick a book that you read to improve yourself in some way. This one I kind of struggled with a bit because I generally don't pick up books. I generally don't pick up books to improve myself. I'm very much an escapist reader. I don't. You will never find me picking up a book because I feel I need to read it. Oh, it's important that I read that book, or everyone ought to read this book. Not because it's going to enjoy you, but because you just have to read this book. I'm not going to read that book. If you tell me I need to read a book because you think I'm going to massively enjoy it, I'll take your recommendation into consideration. But if you tell me I need to read a book because, it's a really important book and everybody ought to read it, I don't want it. I'm not interested. So yeah, I kind of struggled with this one a wee bit. At most, I'd say I do occasionally read non-fiction. Not so much to improve myself, but because I just generally enjoy learning. So I'm kind of going to go on that spin with it. So I've chosen How I Killed Pluto and Why It Had It Coming, which was an absolutely fascinating book. The author's name is escaping me. I really want to say it's Mike Brown, but no. I'll have had the picture up at some point, so you'll see it. It's written by him in first person, and it is his story of how he set out to find a 10th planet in our solar system, and instead accidentally demoted Pluto. He was the one who found. I can't remember the name of what we thought was going to be the 10th planet. It's his journey of how he discovered that, and that led to the reclassification of our planets, and how we now have planets and dwarf planets, which is what Pluto is. Now, he's not a full-blown planet anymore. Sorry, Pluto. But it's really great because it sparked my love. This book probably sparked my love of personal science non-fiction, because it shows it's a really nice balance. It shows like science, we have to be unbiased and neutral, and we have to be unpersonal in how we approach it. But at the same time, it has to be so personal, because if you are not passionate about what you are researching or studying, there's no point in doing it. It's not going to happen. Unless you're like me and you work in routine science and you can just go in and do your day job. That's fine. I'm not a massive, water microbiologist nerd. It's just what I do for a living. But if you're in research, then yeah, you have to be really passionate about it, or it's not going to. You're not going to have a good time. So yeah. That's my answer for that one. It is an absolutely brilliant read. I massively recommend it. I picked it up at the American Museum of Natural History, the one in New York, when I was there visiting, and it was just, yeah, I've not seen it in another bookstore, so I don't know if it's like specific to them or if you can find it anywhere. I don't know. If it's interesting, like if it sounds interesting, you might have to search a little bit for it. But yeah, massively recommend it. It's such a good book. Okay. Second to last prompt really is juicy. Like an orange or watermelon, some snacks have plenty of pieces to pick. Share a book that is profoundly shareable, a book you want others to read. For this one, I have picked The Imaginary Corpse by Tyler Hayes. I've not spoken about this one recently, and that is shame on me. This book, I did do a review from it relatively early in my channel life. So probably about this time last year. It's guys, do you know what I've just said about how I avoid books that I tell that everybody should read? This is a book everybody should read. It is wonderful. It is brilliant. It is genre bending. It has something in it for everybody. This is is it fantasy or sci-fi? It's speculative, shall we say. It's a murder mystery, but with a huge twist. It's brilliant. The premises of this is basically what happens to imaginary friends when, for whatever reason, often, not usually, but often quite tragic, they're no longer needed. Where do they go? They have been so real to their person that they are now real. So where do they go? They go to a specific region of the imagination. I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called. And they live there in this little area, this town. I say little, it's huge. Our protagonist is a sunshine yellow Triceratops plushie detective. And it's got that old like noir, detective noir feel to it. It's absolutely brilliant. You can't die in this land. It's annoying me. I don't have the book on hand because I have already shared it out to several people. I have made many people read this book. It's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, the friends at this point, they can't die because it's exploring the concept of like, how do you kill an idea? Except suddenly friends are dying. They are being brutally murdered and they're not coming back. So Tippy, our detective plushie, has to figure out what's happening. And it is all these deaths, they are connected to what's happening, like something that's happening in the real world at one point. And it's brilliant. It's cute, it's fluffy, it's dark, it's tragic. I cannot I'll link my review to it. But I cannot recommend and stress enough that this is just such a wonderful, wonderful book. Yeah. But anyway, we have made it to the end. The last prompt is the snack pack. Everyone wins when you swap and share your snacks. Tag some friends to do the tag. We all know me at this point. I don't tag people. I'm terrible at that. I honestly get way too much anxiety about tagging people back. Like, oh my god, what if they don't want to do this? Oh, what if they're like, who the hell is this? Why is she tagging me? That's too much for my brain. That's way too much stress for my brain. So I'm just gonna do my usual and say, if you found this interesting, consider yourself tagged and let us see what your answers are. If you don't want to do the tag, do you have any answers you want to share in the comments? That would be awesome. Once again, thank you to Rosica for creating this tag. It has definitely been one of my favorite tags to do so far. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.